We think that if we want something, we should have it and do whatever it takes to get it. But God warns us about the dangers of coveting. Join us today for Family Vision.
Hi, my name is Rush Rienow. Welcome to Family Vision with my parents, Dr. Rob and Amy Rienow. We want to help your family follow Jesus every day.
Rob and Amy Rienow here with Visionary Family Ministries. Again, thank you for spending time with us. It means the world to us to have you as a part of the Family Vision community. And we want to welcome a new family to the Visionary Family community, the Nganga family from Kenya. Welcome, welcome. We are so excited to start building a personal relationship with you and your family, helping your family follow Jesus. We are putting together, last year, honey, we launched this Visionary Family community, trying to pull together like-minded Christian families from all over the world who just want to help each other follow Jesus and encourage each other in our faith. We'd love for you to become a visionary family. Go to our website, visionaryfam.com. You will see that button in the upper left, join the community. Click that and get all the information.
So we are excited to be on our final podcast in our 10 Commandments series.
Just in the 10 Commandments series, not our final.
I know. Well, I was about to say that, but yes, the final podcast in the 10 Commandments series, which we have really enjoyed this. I hope that you have enjoyed it as well, and that it has been a helpful tool for you and your family. And we are going to complete this podcast with, again, the same pattern, a more practical application of commandment, the 10th commandment, do not covet. So I'm going to read Exodus 20:17 again, just to start us off. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or his male servant, or his female servant, or his ox, his donkey, or anything that is your neighbor's. And I think what's so interesting about this commandment that, again, I was taught the 10 Commandments at a very young age. But I don't know what age I was when it struck me that the very first line here is, you shall not covet your neighbor's house. And it really hit me because I was in a pattern in my young married life. Well, it really didn't start till I was married and had my own household, that I would feel this continual struggle, that I would be fairly content with my home and my surroundings and pretty happy with how I decorated and maybe not getting, pastor's family, I knew I couldn't get all the furniture that I wanted. There was always financial issues with things like that. I just, which I think is normal.
What was your word about furniture in a ministry family?
Oh, yes. Well, that came much later, but someone should tell this to every ministry wife, that you do learn when you marry into ministry. Like I had no desire to go into ministry myself per se. I just married a pastor. And I'd heard that a phrase that, you didn't choose ministry, God chose you. And that's a comforting thought, and it's a comforting, I think it's true that I didn't get to choose being a pastor's wife, but God chose me to be a pastor's wife, and it's been a huge blessing. But the longer I was married and the lack of finances to buy my own furniture, when people offer you free furniture, you take it.
Sure.
Like kind of end of story. You take it. So what they should tell ministry wives is that you don't choose your own furniture. Your furniture chooses you. That's the part that really surprised me, because here I am how many years in, and I'm still having my furniture choose me, which is delightful.
Amen.
So I have a great dining room set that looks like it came from Versailles. May not fit with the rest of the furnishings in our home, but it is a wonderful dining set, and I'm super thankful for it. But anyway, going back to the point on coveting is that I am generally content with my surroundings. And what happens so frequently is I will go to an event at someone's home. I was just at the shower for a friend this summer in a home I'd never been into before. And I am blown away as soon as I walk into the door. And I'm immediately just like, oh my goodness, it just comes over me. And I've had to look at this verse, and in my head, I'm playing, do not covet your neighbor's house. Do not covet your neighbor's house. I mean, it's like I have to repeat it because I'm almost distracted by the event because I'm so blown away by the beautiful house. So then it just hits me that right here in Exodus, it says, you shall not covet your neighbor's house. And that is a very practical commandment for me that I have to deal with on a regular basis, because most of the time, 9 out of 10 times, I'm going to walk into someone's house and I'm going to feel like a sense of coveting what they have. And I have to pray against that.
Yeah. And just being honest with yourself that that's what you're experiencing and doing the battle with Scripture. And the first thing that's even happening before you're getting to the coveting is the comparing.
Correct. Of course.
And even that first step. Now, in our last episode, you gave me a little quiz about Greek mythology. So I am going to give you, and I did C-, passed.
I'm not grading on the pop quiz. It's just a...
If it was pass-fail, would I have passed?
I think you passed.
That's
for
all.
Sure.
Jackpot. Let's go.
I mean, I think you graded yourself a little poorly there. I would not, but...
Beautiful.
But I'm not grading.
Okay. So I've got a carpentry quiz for you.
Okay.
Okay. So let's say that I need 10 24-inch boards. All right?
Correct.
And I get out my tape measure, and I measure at 24 inches. I put my marks on. I get my saw. I cut it. I now take my 24-inch board, and I lay that out on the long 8-foot 2x4, and I mark the 24-inch mark with that one, and I cut it. And I take my new board, which is now my second one, and I use that as my measuring stick. Is this a good plan or a bad plan to get 10 24-inch boards?
It's a very bad plan. Very bad plan.
And can you explain with your carpentry experience?
I don't even think you need carpentry experience to answer that question.
I think you might, because a lot of people have actually done this.
We just have to, since we're talking about carpentry experience. Let's talk about our table, our kitchen table when we were first married and what happened to it with a similar procedure that you are going
totally
through
different.
right now. No, it's really not.
All right, let me finish my illustration, and then I will tell that story.
Please do.
I will. I'd be happy to.
Again, without carpentry experience, which I am admitting I have none, I know from just craft experience that you cannot do that because you have to always go to the original 24 inches. You can't do it off a copy or else you're going to get different.
You have to keep going back to the tape measure.
Correct. You
right,
have to
which
go back
is
to the
standard.
You have to go back to the standard.
Exactly. So the principle here for, as it relates to comparing, is that the standard for us can't be the world around us because that standard is always going to change. So as Christians, we should measure ourselves, measure our character, measure our life, but we're measuring against Christ. We're measuring against His Word. Now, all of us are going to fall short, obviously, against that standard. That's why we have Jesus' great love for us and His crucifixion and resurrection and the power of the Holy Spirit to help us grow. But comparing, we spent some time on this in a previous episode, you're always either going to come out on top and be prideful, or you're going to come out on the bottom and feel greedy or ashamed or something like that. So the comparison is going to be a disaster. Okay.
Correct.
Now, this.
Are you going to tell your carpentry story?
I will be happy to. So we purchased our first home, 2004, 2005, about 10 years into our marriage. And we purchased it, and we were doing a lot of projects before we moved in. We pulled out a lot of drywall, et cetera, et cetera. And I was doing a lot of late night
and you're good
projects
at doing
over there.
projects. You are good at doing
I'm better
projects.
than bad?
Better than bad. You don't cut the board and
That's true.
You know that.
So I had
that well.
a full-size sheet of drywall
Correct.
that I needed to cut. And I laid it down on top of our kitchen table, which was a round
wood
6-foot round table, maybe, something
Yes.
like that.
It was given to us as a wedding gift by your dad.
Yes, a wedding gift from my dad. Now, noted, I did put a cloth over the top of the table to prevent scuffs. But, I've got a huge 8-foot by 4-foot piece of drywall on top of this round table. So the table's basically completely covered by the drywall, and I've got a cut to make, and I've got my circular saw, and I've marked my line, and I'm pushing through, and I push through about 1 foot, 2 feet, and then it starts to get a little firmer as I'm
Right.
pushing. Now, at that point, I should have said, "That's weird, let's stop." But I said, well, maybe, there's a knot in the drywall or something, not that those exist. But I decided, well, I'm just going to kind of push through, or maybe I'm at a bad angle, or maybe the saw is turned a little bit. All sorts of reasons why you might have more resistance. But I have about
Shocking that you would charge ahead, though. Shocking.
6 or 8 inches of resistance, and then the saw frees up, and I keep going, but I hear pling, pling, pling. I had sawed off the round table, like an edge, an inch off the side of the round table, and that piece fell down on the floor. And I'm like, well, this is no problem. You can just glue that back on. It's no sweat. But the saw removed some wood. The saw
but
is an eighth of an
The
inch.
fact that you said it's no problem, and you could just glue
Sure.
like that would be acceptable to me, a glued table. Talk
Sure.
about I mean, like that.
But part of the table's gone because of the eighth-inch width
Yeah,
of the saw blade.
Correct. I'm well aware.
So you can't just staple that back on.
Correct. And it's, yes. And I got to pick a new table, I think. That was
We did
exciting.
buy our own table
Well,
then.
we had to now. So
Didn't
therefore,
have to.
okay, we did have to. But anyway, it was lopsided. And I mean, we're not going
get back- let's get back to-
carpentry
No, not back to carpentry skills.
No, not back,
Back to the cure
off
for
of
coveting.
carpentry. Yes. But my next point is that the enemy knows our weaknesses when it comes to this commandment of coveting. And I find it interesting. I don't think whatever culture you're in, we know that the enemy influences the world around us, the culture that we're living in. And one thing that I've noticed in our current culture is whether it's a speeding up, I call it a kind of a fast track on a lot of these coveting issues. One of them to me is just reflected in the media that we see all the time. So we don't watch a lot of television in our house just for all sorts of different reasons. So I never really watch.
You mean like nightly shows kind of stuff?
Well, just in general, like have the TV on. A lot of moms might work with the TV on for something. And that's not, my mom does that. That's not a bad thing. I'm just saying that's not something I generally do. I'd rather listen to a podcast than have a screen on. But when I get my nails done at the nail salon, the show that's playing at the nail salons is I think it's HGTV. It's like Home and Garden Network. And it's just continual show of, one house project after another house project after another house project. Talk about like feeding the coveting spirit. So all the women in there were getting our nails done, and you're just watching, like any screen, everywhere you look, you're going to see the home show. I mean, I only know the home shows from going to these salons and seeing all the different people do the shows. But what cracks me up is that they'll go into a house that, from my perspective, doesn't look that bad. It kind of looks like my house. And then they'll be, oh, this is such an outdated kitchen. Oh, my goodness. Like, we had, like the updates, if you are 10 years, like if your house is 10 years not updated, that's according to the HGTV people, you need to redo everything.
It's like my wardrobe.
And I'm realizing that sense of dissatisfaction or just the level of shows like that you're being exposed to. And that's just on this network. We're not talking about social media. We're not talking about other avenues. But you can see how that pushes people to spend money. It pushes people to feel discontent with what they have when you get a message kind of on a regular basis that you should be updating, that there's something wrong with your house if you have a kitchen like mine that was built in the 90s, which I still consider, like, I'm fine with my kitchen. But when I go to the salon and see these shows, I mean, my kitchen would not make it on the HGTV. There's no way. I mean, we are way, outdated there. So, and they're changing all the time. Like, even if you go to sell your house, they'll say you have to paint everything in this new color because that's the new thing. So my point is our culture, that when I go back to the enemy knows our weaknesses, think about this commandment and think about how our culture and environment fuels it. And I'm confident that whatever culture environment you're in, I'm not saying it's just American culture, it is being fueled because the enemy desires to create situations where we will be very tempted to covet and not to be content.
Yeah. And there's a strong warning on this in the book of James, chapter 4, verses 1 through 3. It says, "What causes fights and quarrels among you? Don't they come from your desires that battle within you? You want something, but don't get it. You kill and covet, but you cannot have what you want. You quarrel and fight. You do not have because you do not ask God. And when you ask, you don't receive because you ask with wrong motives, that you may spend what you get on your own pleasures."
That is such a powerful verse. And when I do think of 20th century America, I think sometimes a mistake that we all fall into is thinking that the way things are today is the way things always have been. Like, we don't understand that we're living in quite a different state than like my grandparents did, who were raised in the times of the Depression. They would not have this same view of the need to spend money on the latest updates. They were much more ingrained with being, taking care of what they had because they had experienced high levels of want. And in our culture, it's almost like you have to teach something completely different because we're just not used to, we live with such an excess, and it's actually the excess in many ways that cause a lot of problems in our life, whether it's excess material goods, excess food, excess of pleasure even can have such a negative effect. But you're getting this message all the time that if you had this, then you would be happy. It reminds me of my doctor, Dr. Agard, taught me this lesson multiple times because he tends to tell some of the same stories, but I do love this one. He would say that, his son was going to live, I think, in Africa, a third world country. And he said that his son was going to be hungry like most of the time, that, when food came, he needed to eat as much as he could because, you didn't know when the next meal was coming from. But that's generally how people often live in a different type of culture, like a third world culture where food is going to be scarce. He said, in America, my job is to teach, my patients to say no. Like if they don't say no, they're going to have excess. And it's the excess that's going to cause them problems. He says most diseases in America are caused by excess, not by deficiencies. So it's just another example of the enemy wanting us to think we need more and to say yes to more things, when in reality, some of our biggest problems are coming from this excess mindset.
Well, as we wrap this one up, a real practical action step for your family. It may sound super simple. It may sound Sunday school-y, but I hope you don't receive it that way. One of the greatest ways we can do battle against a spirit of coveting is by making an intentional choice to give thanks to God every day. Listen to Philippians chapter 4, verse 6. It says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God." So all of our families have needs. What are we supposed to do? We're supposed to bring those to the Lord, tell him that we need these things or that we want these things, do so with prayer and supplication, and then with thanksgiving. And I think some of these other prayers of, God, give us more so that we can be more generous, not give us more for us. Help us to understand that we're stewards, not owners of what you have given us. We hope that you have enjoyed this series in the 10 Commandments, and we would love your partnership in reaching more families for Christ. One of the really simple ways that you can do that is by sharing this podcast episode with a friend or family member, clicking that subscribe button, leaving a review. All those things help the algorithms help more people find Family Vision and the scriptures that we're sharing to help families around the world follow Jesus. We have a featured resource today. Amy and I are giving away 5 copies of our book, Visionary Parenting. The first 5 people who email podcast@visionaryfam.com are going to get copies of the Visionary Parenting book. Just email us, say, I'd like to request my free copy of Visionary Parenting. Give us your mailing address. We will get that in the mail to you. And as always, if you have got prayer needs for your family, we would love to pray for you. We'd love to pray with you. Someone from our prayer team will get back to you. You can email us at podcast@visionaryfam.com. And as always, we're looking forward to our next time together with you on Family Vision.